Oh man, as much fun as it would be for me to like comment on free agents, is like just it's not my job. My job is to dream about the possibilities and then look forward to developing any players that we acquire during this time period, and then stay as focused as I possibly can on the players that are currently in Giants uniforms. And that obviously fulfills me, but I understand why it's not all that helpful. But that's our policy is that I'm not going to be commenting on free agents.
Is it fun for you to kind of?
Yeah, of course. As a fan, Susan always tells me I need to think about things as a fan. So, as a fan, if this is great, it's really exciting for baseball, and envisioning some of these players in new uniforms, and obviously the names that we're all talking about. Really excited about the possibility of some of them, being Giants, and trust the process and how hard our front office and our staff in general is working on both evaluating and acquiring the best free agents. But as the manager, I'm very excited about the possibilities, and also pretty excited about some of the players that are currently in our organization.
How much do you feel like when you have these, you talk about these possibilities of potential players becoming the Giants, or not just overall, how much do you feel like this helps grow the game and continue to gain interest from fan bases outside in San Francisco?
Yeah. I've been coming to winter meetings for a lot of years, and obviously we had some breaks for various reasons. But this is the most exciting time that I can remember. And it's actually, this feels like there's a lot at stake for the game, with the draft lottery, with the big names like the shortstops, and all of the players that we're talking about. It feels like there's a lot at stake for Major League Baseball, and we want to be an exciting brand at the winter meetings, not just during the season. And I think this year is an indication that we can be exciting.
Does it feel like there's a lot at stake for the Giants?
Yes, but always. It's not unique to this moment, and we've talked about this in the past, and I think it's a good one to keep revisiting. But at the end of 21, there was a lot at stake, and the beginning of 22, there was a lot at stake. Right in the middle of the season, there's the playoffs on the line, free agency, trade deadline. There's always a lot at stake for Major League Baseball organizations. A team like the San Francisco Giants, we have a very, very passionate fan base. That passion is matched by the members of our front office, our clubhouse staff, our coaching staff, everybody up and down the organization. So sure, yeah, a lot's at stake.
You're not the guy that signs the players, obviously, but did you have a sense going into this offseason that the Giants as a whole are going to be big spenders and be very aggressive and going out and getting all the, not all, going for the top players on the market?
The distinction that I would make is it's really less about being big spenders and much more about being relentless in finding the best possible fits for the San Francisco Giants. To be fair, that was true at the end of 20. It was true at the end of 21 as well. So, yeah, we're always going to be looking under every stone, and this is not talking about like any one individual, myself, but like a group is going to be looking under every stone to get every possible upgrade to create the best possible roster for the Giants when we start 23, and have the depth in place to handle the fires that are sure to pop up, the injuries that are sure to pop up, the lack of performance that is definitely going to happen. And this is about building as much foundation and strength and depth as we can possibly have to make it all the way through the 23 season. And I have to tell you this, but also beyond, and for like many years to come.
What sort of conversations have you had with Crawford about potentially moving to a player, depending on what sort of acquisitions are made?
None.
How much did the conversation start as far as the end of last season and going into the free agency and winter meetings? How long did those conversations take place, or when did they take place? You guys kind of have a plan of what you want to go into the free agent period with.
Yeah, the best way to say it is ongoing. Really legit, all the way through the year. And these, as much as it feels like the season ends and then you ramp up for the middle of the winter, I think teams are planning for 2, 3, 5 years down the road all the time. and like people are discussing who are the free agents in 24 and 25 now, right? Because it's like all a big puzzle. So what happens this offseason is definitely going to impact what happens 2 off seasons from now. So all the time.
What are your thoughts on having your top starter participating in the WBC and how do you handle that?
It's an interesting one because I think there's a lot of benefit. So obviously we're talking about Logan Webb and participating in the World Baseball Classic. There is so much development that can occur for Logan, and look, you know, the worrier in every that is inside of every manager is going to be like, oh man, like what if something happens? Not just to Logan, but anybody that's participating in the WBC for any of the teams. And so that's tough. You know, it's a tough thing to think about and to come to terms with. At the same time, you recognize how much potential development is in there for Logan and the other players that are going to participate in the WBC. It's real. It's very, very intense. These guys are playing for their home countries, and that matters. And I respect the fact that our players want to compete at the highest level and compete for their countries.
Do you know who else might be playing for their countries yet? Do you have confirmation on it?
I have some ideas, but I'm not making any announcements about that right now.
What makes San Francisco unique as a spot that could attract high-level free agents?
I personally think it's among the countries, if not the country's most beautiful city. I think, you know, for people that want outdoor stuff, I'm an outdoors person. So if you want hikes and you want ocean, you want to surf, you want to be outside, San Francisco offers all that. You want city life and like culture, theater, restaurants. San Francisco offers that. If you want tech, I mean, we're right in the middle of it all. And so, you know, if you want proximity to other great cities, you want to go wine tasting, like it's not hard for me to sell San Francisco.
And what about the Giants?
I mean, I think we're a very well-funded, very well-funded, very well-led, very progressive organization that wants to compete for National League and expects to compete for National League West titles perennially, and a support staff that has shown to be really good at getting the best out of players and helping players advance in their careers and acquire more opportunities.
Hey, what is a team that signs Carlos Rodon getting?
A bulldog, top of the rotation starter that misses bats, that desperately wants to win, that cares about his teammates, and is just like an excellent top of the league #1 starter.
You guys have had kind of co-ace with Logan these last 2 years.
There's something moving by.
I caught it.
Okay. I guess the question is, without having Carlos signed and then you guys off the market, are you guys okay moving forward without that kind of obvious #2 behind Logan?
I just don't think that that's how we're viewing it, and we all know that we're going to be looking for help in our rotation. I mean, is that what you're asking?
Well, basically,
Like, are you okay? I don't think. Is that what you're asking? Are you okay? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
well, I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on in terms of just having Logan alone at the top of the rotation and then having this guy like Logan not to
Yeah.
push anybody else, but Logan and the others, you know?
Well, I mean, we have a couple of other starters in our rotation that did a really nice job this year, and that a lot of teams would be really happy to have as their, you know, #2, #3, and maybe even, you know, think about like Alex Cobb. Had we played a little bit better defense behind Alex and he had stayed a little bit healthier, I mean, he could sit in the 2 hole in anybody's rotation. He was just nasty this year. So that's all to say. We're also going to go out and look for help in our rotation. I don't think that's any secret. So, and I don't think, to answer your question directly, I don't think there's any team that's okay with where they stand in the middle of December. Like, you're just like constantly trying to improve.
Having run office experience and now being on field managing side, how involved are you in Giants attempts to like augment their roster, or do you sort of silo yourself on that side?
First, I love it. So like I'm naturally curious and interested in what's happening in our front office all the time. So I'll acknowledge that, you know, if you talk to all the different managers around the game, some managers are wanting to have that really that big break, because it is like the season is such a grind. You have to be available every single day. You have to be engaged every single day on so many different levels. So it's a nice break for a good portion of the managers to just kind of get away. I'm personally not wired like that. I definitely want the breaks, but I'm really invested. So, and I think the relationship that I have with Farhan, and the one that I'm developing with Pete, and the one that I have continued to try to develop with our front office, lends itself to good quality conversations on a daily basis about all of these things. It's not my number one responsibility. That's why I kind of started the conversation like I did. My number one responsibility is helping the players that are coming to our roster and that are on our roster be the best that they can possibly be. But I'm very interested and curious and want to contribute on a daily basis. I know when it's time to like let other people do their jobs and play a supportive role, but I'm always available, and it doesn't take me long to respond.
If I could ask a question here from the Padres Radio Network, what were your takeaways from the playoff run that the Padres went on?
Sure. Can I be like totally frank?
Absolutely.
I was like on camping trips, and I know this sort of runs counter to what I just said to Lindsay, so but I wasn't paying particularly close attention, to be fair. I mean, I know their roster inside and out because we played so much against them, and I really respect their leadership and coaching staff and their talent and how aggressive they've been in free agency and player acquisition. Respect all of that. But to be frank, like, I didn't pay close enough attention to give you anything good. Yeah. So he's a really bright individual. He's real. I mean, you guys saw it when he came to the ballpark. A lot of star quality, very, very physical, and probably what I learned most is that we have a lot in common. He likes to be outside and capture footage from the things that he's seeing, and I think he just turned 22. So a lot of player development, personal development to come, but a smart dude. We spent some time and had a meal after we hiked. I learned a lot about him at that point, his background, where he comes from, and what's going to shape him going forward. It's a really, really fascinating dude. Where we were at Papago, and both like getting a workout in the morning, and we were just kind of chit-chatting. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm thinking about going hiking. I'm going to Sedona. What about you? He's like, yeah, me and we're also gonna go hiking. I was cool. Let's go. And I ended up reaching out to Brad Graham's our clubhouse manager, and Brad and Ashley, his wife, joined us, and we just all hung out and hiked and talked baseball.
Have you been in touch with Stella?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He's doing well. I think he just got back. So I think his game plan was to go to Colorado to work with Kai for a couple of days, which he did, and that went really well. And I think from there he was going to go, if I'm not mistaken, do some hitting stuff in Texas. But Tommy's relentless about trying to get the best out of this offseason. So far it's going well.
There's a Japanese player, pitcher, Senga, willing to come in to U.S. Are you familiar with him?
So our policy is not to comment on free agents. I've obviously seen Senga's work, and tremendous pitcher, very exciting for him and his family and everybody in Japan that he has an opportunity to come to the United States. He's sure he's going to land with the right club and perform very well.
So you wish to help him?
I'm wishing that he has a lot of success coming over to the United States. I hope he lands with the right club. I'm sure he would do great in any uniform.
With the new schedule now, there are three obviously very good teams in the NL West, and you won't have to beat up on each other as often. Does it serve, I guess, what do you think of
The Diamondbacks were really tough on us this year. They were a really challenging team. I think about the Diamondbacks a lot because they're so gifted and athletic, and they're all so young. And I think Torrey does a great job, and Mike Hayes and their whole front office is just a good group. So the Diamondbacks are also, and obviously, like on any given year, you could have the Rockies take a big step forward. It's always going to be a very well-equipped division. I think it's good for the game that we're not playing that many games, even though it's not that much fewer. Marginally, I think it improves things for players and staff, and to some degree or another, fans. I'm sure like fans can't get enough of, the Red Sox, Yankees, and fans can't get enough of the Giants and Dodgers, and to some degree or another, like maybe even, the Padres and Dodgers, Padres, Giants, whatever. Whatever your rivalry of choice is, I'm sure you want to see as much of it as possible. My perspective is what's best for the game is just a little bit more seeing other clubs in different parts of the country a little bit more often. I think it's really good for the sport.
Adjacent to that topic, how did you think the new format for the playoffs and the way the seedings played out?
I think that's also really good for baseball. Just more opportunity for more fans to be invested for longer during the season is just really good for all of us. I think there were some well-documented challenges, ones that I don't necessarily need to go over and repeat, but for the most part, I think baseball really benefited from the playoff format from last year.
Did you finalize your coaching staff?
Same staff. Everybody's coming back. And, we have some additions that are non-traditional coaching related, but nothing to announce for our regular staff.
Gabe, how would you say your managerial style has changed since your time in Philadelphia?
I've said this a bit in the past, but I have less of like a surefire plan in my brain. I probably know what I don't know better now than I did then. So maybe just ask a few more questions, bring a few more people into conversations, particularly when they're big decisions about player conversations. Just try to get as much of an accurate reflection of what's happening as possible. There was some of that in Philadelphia. I just think that's part of my own personal evolving is just to listen a little bit more, listen a little bit more successfully each year.
Thank you.
Sure.
He's got time for maybe one or two more.
I think he's like one of the most interestingly talented defenders in the sport in center field. So you remember, obviously, I was the farm director of the Dodgers, and during that time period, he was like one of the slickest first basemen in the minor leagues. And so with that, people really saw him as a fixture at first base with the Dodgers. One of the things that we discussed was, let's try to give Bellinger as many paths to the major league roster as possible. So there was thoughts and conversation about, hey, could he play the outfield? And then we saw him out in center field, and he was an absolute natural out there. It surprised nobody because he was so physically and athletically gifted that he could handle that transition. But it just gave him another path. And now when I see Cody Bellinger on the other side of the field, we've seen a lot of him. You always have like some envy about how good he is at closing on balls in front of him, how athletic he is on balls over his head, how strong his throwing arm has been when he's been at his most healthy. So, and obviously everybody knows that there's still a pretty athletic, he's 28 years old. Yeah. So there's probably room for growth as a major league hitter. Maybe he gets back to his 21 form at some point. I also remember him in like 17 and 18 being pretty nasty. So like those things are still within his reach, and having gotten to know Cody, I wish all those things for him.
Good.
Thanks.
La Máquina Deportiva, la factoría a nivel mundial de los deportes.